Hello, hello. Empowering the true crime. Alex here. Hey, everyone. Oh my gosh. I think this is a New Year miracle. Okay, this is so super impromptu. I was actually out getting some stuff done for New Year's Eve and New Year's and rushed back home to do this. But what I wanted to start off with is a recap, and I'm going to go ahead and share. Let me see if I can share my screen. Share screen. Okay, so just before I forget, if you're new to my channel, Empowering True Crime is about true crime news, updates, advocacy. We're victim-centered, victim-focused. We believe victims, and we want justice for victims. And I am not only personally passionate about advocacy. However, also I am a media expert, and so when I cover this, I really try to get facts. I really try to make sure that it's backed by sources, verifiable sources. That we do pepper in every once in a while a little bit of speculation, but the speculation is usually, it has to be based on facts, right? Unlike a person who is now being sued by a professor at the University of Idaho because she had intuitive feelings and she read the tarot cards. Okay, I'm an intuitive myself, and I don't use that 100. I don't base my true crime coverage on that. It needs to be backed up by facts and by evidence, right? Okay, so let's go right into this. We have about 7 minutes before, so I'm just going to do a quick recap. The latest on the Idaho students. Right now I'm on CNN.com. And just a quick recap here on the left, it says what we're covering. A suspect has been arrested on a first-degree murder warrant in connection with the killings of 4 University of Idaho students. The 28-year-old suspect, male suspect, was arrested in Pennsylvania Friday, sources say, and records show the suspect was arraigned this morning. He's a graduate student at a nearby university, a directory showed. Okay, so let's go here. It says police will soon share an update on the Idaho student murders, which we're going to cover here. Here's what we know so far about the suspect. The Moscow Police Department, in Idaho, will hold a press conference, which we're going to show. If you're just tuning in, the man arrested is Bryan Kohberger, 28, according to the criminal complaint. He was taken into custody Friday in Monroe County, the document states. Authorities narrowed their focus to Kohberger after tracing his ownership of a white Hyundai Elantra seen in the area of the killings, according to 2 law enforcement sources briefed on the investigation. And Kohberger's DNA has also been matched to genetic material recovered at the off-campus house where the students were stabbed to death. So that is how they were able to catch this person. It's because oh, sorry about that. Just wanted to make sure, okay. They were able to get the DNA and match the ownership of the white car. Alrighty, so Kohberger is a graduate student at a nearby college studying at Washington State University's Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology. He's studying criminal justice. And he's a suspect, a prime suspect. I mean, this is crazy. Wow. The original link listing Kohberger's name was seen by CNN earlier Friday. WSU, Washington State University, has not responded. So what's wild about the WSU, if you recall, if you followed me a few weeks ago, we covered another a potential person of interest in Washington State University that was waving around a gun and threatening to shoot people, and he actually was shot dead by a SWAT team. That was at an off-campus housing right in front of Washington State University. And so, some people were thinking, why are we looking at this? It's off. No, I mean, if this person is in fact the murderer, then this WSU is just a few miles away. And actually, before we get into any more details, I actually mapped it out. And I mapped out the Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology at Washington State University and the house, and it is 17 minutes away driving, 9.6 miles. Now, I'm assuming he doesn't live at the Department of Criminology, so he lives somewhere, I'm sure, close by. But the department or the university is less than 10 miles away from the house. So there were some reports, this is speculation, but there were some reports that either his sister or his brother live in the neighborhood of King Road in Moscow. And, you know, we can speculate for days about that and what happened there, but just wanted to point that out, that maybe that's the point of contact, why he was by that house and why he was able to see. Some have speculated maybe that is that the house was targeted itself, not necessarily anybody in the house, because as we've been seeing these last few days, there were tons of noise complaints over the last few months. And, you know, I don't know what would make a person want to kill somebody, and not just one person, but 4 people because of noise complaints. But maybe there were just enough things to have somebody who, you know, is a little bit off to set somebody off and trigger somebody. I mean, I have seen some crazy stories lately as I've been doing research of things that will set people off to kill. So it's unfortunate that would take somebody, and especially somebody who is studying criminology and criminal justice. My goodness. I mean, the thought that comes through my mind is he studying that so that he can figure out how to, you know, how to get away with things? I mean, that's the thought that's coming to mind for me. Okay, so let's move on. Let me get out of that. And so the other thing I wanted to say, okay, let's see here. Hasn't gone live yet. So let's go back to this article. Alrighty, let's see what else we've got here. So this was very, very interesting. Authorities learned the suspect had left the area and went to Pennsylvania, the sources said, and an FBI surveillance team from Philadelphia, the field office, had been tracking him for 4 days in the area where he was arrested. While he was being watched, investigators from the Moscow Police Department, the Idaho State Police Homicide Bureau, and the FBI worked with prosecutors to develop sufficient probable cause to obtain the warrant. Once the arrest warrant was issued, the Pennsylvania State Police and the FBI made the arrest. Records show Kohberger was arraigned Friday morning in Pennsylvania, and he has a court hearing on extradition on January 3rd. So I guess to extradite him from Pennsylvania to Idaho. Okay, and let me just do a quick check here to see. Okay. Alrighty, so a CNN team filmed law enforcement outside a WSU graduate residence that Moscow police say is connected to Kohberger. WSU police are searching the apartment at the request of Moscow police, the Idaho Department. Oh, okay.
Thank you for coming today. Last night, in conjunction with the Pennsylvania State Police, Federal Bureau of Investigation, detectives arrested 28-year-old Bryan Christopher Kohberger in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, on a warrant for murders of Ethan, Zana, Madison, and Kaylee. I want to personally thank these agencies for their assistance in this case. Kohberger resides in Pullman, Washington, and is a graduate student at Washington State University. We will provide as much information as we can about the extradition to Idaho and the criminal process. However, due to Idaho state law, we are limited in what information we can release today until Kohberger has his initial appearance in Idaho court. I want to express my appreciation to our local community. The people of Idaho and those throughout our nation who provided information to help us investigate these murders has been very impressive. We've received over 19,000 tips and we've conducted over 300 interviews. To recap this case, on the evening of November 12th, Kaylee and Madison arrived home at about 1:56 a.m. after visiting a local bar and street food vendor. Ethan and Xana were at the Sigma Chi house before arriving home around 1:45 a.m. The two surviving roommates had also been in the community, but returned around 1 a.m. On the morning of November 13th, a 911 call was made at 11:58 a.m., reporting an unconscious person at the residence. The call came from inside the home from one of the surviving roommates' cell phones. Moscow police responded and found 2 victims on the 2nd floor and 2 victims on the 3rd floor. On November 17th, autopsies were conducted and the Latah County coroner confirmed the identity of the 4 victims. Cause and manner of death was homicide by stabbing. Some had defensive wounds and each had been stabbed multiple times. These murders have shaken our community and no arrest will ever bring back these young students. However, we do believe justice will be found through the criminal process. This was a very complex and extensive case. We had developed a clear picture over time, and we stand assured that the work is not done, but be assured the work is not done. This has just started. Since November, we have remained laser focused on pursuing every lead in our pursuit of justice for the victims and their families. I recognize the frustration with the lack of information that's been released. However, providing any details in this criminal investigation might have tainted the upcoming criminal prosecution or alerted the suspect of our progress. We will continue to provide as much information as we can as the process moves forward. Today, I want to specifically thank our dedicated Moscow Police Department detectives, patrol officers, the Idaho State detectives, the Idaho State troopers, and their crime lab technicians and scientists, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation for the resources and personnel to conduct this massive investigation. It was the dedication of them and the persistence and the numerous hours that led to an arrest. Fortunately, these highly skilled people worked together as a cohesive team to solve this case. I also want to thank our community and the nation. Over the past 6 weeks, I've been continually reminded of how much our community cares. Locally, public support has been exceptional with kind words, food for investigators, and letters of support. You will never know how much your words of encouragement help us through these trying times. I appreciate each of you and each of your kindness. Agencies and individuals from across the nation have reached out to us to express their support to this department. I'm reminded how our Moscow community, our families, and the nation has been impacted by this daily. Finally, I do want to thank our media partners for the help. You kept this in the news. You helped us with tips. You kept things going, and we truly appreciate that. And you are the product of those 19,000 tips that we received, which is an impressive number. I would like to invite Bill Thompson, the county prosecutor, up at this time.
Good afternoon, folks. My name is Bill Thompson. I'm the Latah County prosecutor. And it's sad to be here, but happy to be here at the same time. As Chief Fry indicated, a criminal complaint was filed yesterday here in Latah County, charging the defendant, Mr. Kohberger, with 4 counts of first-degree murder, in addition to felony burglary, which involves entering the residence with the intent to commit the crime of murder. Mr. Kohberger, and let me preface, there's a pending case now in court, and I and my office and the investigators have to live with the restrictions that our Supreme Court places on pretrial publicity. That said, I promise you we will share with you through the court process or otherwise, whatever we are allowed to. I just appreciate your patience on that. The factual basis for the charges are summarized in what's called a probable cause affidavit that is on file with the court. According to the rules of the Idaho Supreme Court, that is sealed until Mr. Kohberger is physically back in Latah County and has been served with the Idaho arrest warrant. At that time, we expect that that affidavit will be available to you so you can share the true facts with all of your readers and your watchers and your listeners and all the people who are interested and really need to know what's going on. So please have patience with us on that. We hope to get that to you as soon as we can. As far as Mr. Kohberger, I can share with you that he is a graduate student at Washington State University and has an apartment residence over in Pullman. He has had an initial appearance in front of a judge in Pennsylvania. He is being held without bond, and the warrant from our magistrate judge here also provides for no bond. We understand that he's scheduled to be back in court in Pennsylvania next Tuesday afternoon, and that a public defender has been appointed for him there. The process at this point is, since he was arrested in another state, he has the opportunity to either waive extradition and return voluntarily to the state of Idaho, or if he prefers not to waive extradition, then we will initiate extradition proceedings through our governor's office. If we do that, it can take a while for him to get here. So again, I'm asking for your patience and understand that's just the way the system works. Once he gets here, he'll have an initial appearance with our magistrate. They'll deal with issues such as making sure counsel is competent counsel is representing him, and the case will be scheduled for further hearings. Your primary source of factual information is going to be the court record, because that's what the Supreme Court says we need to refer you to. So please pay attention to what's going on in court and have people there to watch and hear what's being said. As an attorney, myself and my office, we are limited on what we are allowed by the courts to say outside of the courtroom. So please just work with us. Finally, as the chief indicated, this is not the end of this investigation. In fact, this is a new beginning. You all now know the name of the person who's been charged with these offenses. Please get that information out there. Please ask the public, anyone who knows about this individual, to come forward, call the tip line, report anything you know about him to help the investigators and eventually our office and the court system understand fully everything there is to know about not only the individual, but what happened and why. Next, I'll introduce Colonel Ked Wells from the Idaho State Police. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Kedrick Wills. I serve as the director of the Idaho State Police and certainly want to express our appreciation for your attendance here today. These tragic murders took 4 young, vibrant lives from our community. Nothing we do can bring them back. The only thing that we can do in law enforcement to honor their memories that we know of is to bring this to a successful conclusion. This has been a very difficult time for the families, the university, the community, and the state of Idaho. However, it is also proven that communities come together in tough times. Certainly appreciate the support of the local community and our national audience that has been following us as our investigators have worked through this case. I'm thankful also to you, the media partners, who have helped keep this case in the forefront that generates the tips and we hope will continue to generate information that will help us to a conclusion of this proceeding. I'd like to express our appreciation on behalf of the Idaho State Police to Chief Fry, his leadership, and the entire Moscow Police Department for the way that they handled this from the very beginning. He directed the right people to the right positions that led us to this conclusion today. I've had the utmost confidence in this investigation and in Chief Fry, as well as in Mr. Bill Thompson and the Latah County Prosecutor's Office, who've been a great partner throughout this. Nothing has deterred the commitment of the investigators who've worked on this case, regardless of the organization they represent. It's been very trying and very difficult, as we know, as you know, that it has been on those investigators as they do the tedious work that they're so good at doing. The partnerships is what's led here as well. The partnerships between Moscow Police Department, I'd like to express our appreciation with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, specifically the special agent in charge out of the Salt Lake City Division, Dennis Rice, and also what the work that happened in the last 24 hours in Pennsylvania with the arrest with the Pennsylvania State Police and Colonel Evanchik with the Pennsylvania State Police. We appreciate what they've done across the nation to help us as well. As Bill shared, this investigation is far from over. In fact, I appreciate what he shared, that this is not an ending, but rather a new beginning. The difference now is, as he shared, that we are dictated what information we can share by the court process and by laws in our state of Idaho. And so we will share, as he shared, Mr. Thompson is absolutely committed to share everything he can share through the court process. We've got to make sure that we don't get in front of that process. And we really deeply appreciate everybody's support here. The relationships that were forged here and the partnerships that were forged have led to this. And based on that is why we're here today. And we continue to believe that the best way we can honor these 4 lives that have been taken is to make sure that we have a successful outcome here. One of the partnerships that's been forged throughout this is a partnership with the University of Idaho. And on that, I'd like to introduce the president of the University of Idaho, Mr. Scott Green.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Scott Green, President of the University of Idaho. Today's news of arrest is a welcome one. It's relief to our university, our community, and our extended Vandal family. The outpouring of support over the past 6 weeks helped sustain us during the most trying time. It provided the strength that helped us navigate the international scrutiny visited on our students and employees. We are truly thankful for the compassion and acts of kindness shown to our community. Kindness is contagious, and it provided the light that reclaimed ground lost to evil and darkness. We first want to acknowledge and thank Governor Little for the early promise of financial support that enabled the university to secure our campus and focus on helping our students and our employees in the wake of the crimes. We also appreciate the Idaho State Police and the highly visible security presence that brought comfort and calm to a community shocked and confused by the senseless crimes. We never lost faith that this case would be solved and are grateful for the hard work of the Moscow Police Department and their law enforcement partners. Vast and committed FBI resources brought important expertise to this complex case. Across the board, dedicated, highly competent personnel worked this case to arrest. This crime has nevertheless left a mark on our university, our community, and our state. While we cannot bring back Maddie, Kaylee, Zaina, and Ethan, we can thoughtfully and purposefully carry their legacy forward in the work that we do. Our students come first, and that was proven each and every day of this investigation. We are committed to safely delivering the college town atmosphere, campus experience, and high-touch quality education for which the University of Idaho is known. With time, we will heal. We will move forward together, and we will remain Vandal strong. With that, I'd like to turn it back over to Chief Fry.
So now we will open the floor to questions. However, I want to remind everyone, as Prosecutor Bill Thompson explained, any factual information regarding the arrest of Kohberger is currently sealed per Idaho law and will not be released until he has appeared in an Idaho court. Please formulate your questions accordingly. I recognize there are a lot of questions, and I will try to answer as many of them as I can.
Lauren Patterson, Northwest Public Broadcasting, Spokane Public Radio. I realize the records are sealed. I guess I'm not too familiar with how it works, but can you tell us what tip, what lead, what piece of evidence really led you all the way from Idaho to the suspect in Pennsylvania?
As I've said in the past, that's part of our investigation, and we won't be releasing that at this time. We will have those answers. We'll have them as soon as we can make those available to you.
Then a quick follow-up and a two-parter. Is our community safe, or is law enforcement still on the search for other suspects who might be involved in this attack?
What I can tell you is we have an individual in custody who committed these horrible crimes, and I do believe our community is safe, but we still need to be vigilant, right? We still have talked about this in the past. We always need to be aware of our surroundings and make sure that we're aware of what's going on.
Hi, Chief. How soon into the investigation did police and law enforcement begin to spot Mr. Kohberger as a potential suspect? And a follow-up, how many tips, if you can say, were specifically related to Mr. Kohberger?
To the tip part, honestly, I can't answer that question, so I'm not even going to speculate on that. On the other part, that's part of our investigation, and it will come out. I'd like the mic to please come right over here.
Thank you. Dana Griffin with NBC News. Can you confirm that Kohberger asked whether or not anyone else had been arrested when he was in custody?
I cannot confirm that, or I'm not sure of that information, but that would still be a part of our investigation.
Did CODIS initially return any hits on this guy?
That's still part of our investigation. That will come out. If we could get somebody over here, please.
And then one final question. Is there any message to the online sleuths who slandered and harassed people who they believed were responsible?
There was a lot of speculation going on, and we've always said from the very beginning that we're the official message that comes out, and to pay attention to what we're putting out there to the press.
I'm Nancy Liu with News Nation, and we were over at the house this morning, and you told us that the remediation would begin today. It was suddenly stopped. Can you tell us why?
Yes, the house cleanup has been halted, and that came by a legal request from the court.
Christina Corbin, Fox News. Chief, have you identified a motive?
That is part of the investigation, and that will come out as we continue the investigation. But what we still ask is for people to continually send us things in the tip line. We are still looking for more information. We're still trying to build that picture, just like we have stated all along. We're putting all the pieces together, and that will help.
Chief Veronica Miracle with CNN. Any indication that the suspect knew the victims?
That's part of the investigation as well. It won't be something that will come out at this point in time, but as we continue the investigation and as this case goes to trial, that will be brought forth.
Have you spoken to the families? Can you tell us what they've told you today?
Are you talking the victims' families? Yeah, we have reached out to the victim's family as we always do. We've done that daily, and we've continued to have contact with them.
Hey, Nate Sanford, you mentioned earlier that you're still seeking tips about Bryan and that people should still share whatever information they have. Can you speak at all about what specifically people should be reaching out for, like if they know something?
I would say anything and everything. As we've said all along, we know what tips we're looking for. We will take those tips and we will have professionals look at those and decide which pieces of those we need to use for our case. So we ask that everybody would do that.
Angela Palermo, Idaho Statesman. Your department and other investigators on the case took a lot of flack for keeping information close to your chest. Are you glad that you did that? And were you worried about tipping the suspect off?
I will 100% stand behind the way that we handled this investigation. And this all started from day one with our patrol officers arriving on scene, locking down the scene, us calling in the Idaho State Police, us calling in the FBI, and keeping information that was pertinent to this case very, very tight. We want to have a situation where when this goes to trial, there is no doubt that we've done everything right and we've slowed down and we've continued to slow down. We'll continue to do that.
Hey, Chief, have you guys found the murder weapon or the Elantra?
So we are still looking for all pieces of evidence, but we are still looking for the weapon. And I will say that we have found an Elantra.
Stephanie Becker with CNN. Can you tell what it was like when you got the phone call when the police told you that they had your suspect?
I can tell you, for a lot of law enforcement, it was a fairly sleepless couple of days with as we were leading up to everything that we were doing. But what I can tell you is I have faith in those agencies across the nation. I have faith in our officers. I have faith in the FBI, and they did a great job. But sure, there was some times even throughout the day that we were always concerned.
Hi, Chief. Danya back at CBS News. Can you talk a little bit more about the suspect's connection to Pennsylvania?
All I know is that he lives in Pennsylvania.
Chief Guy Tannenbaum from Nonstop Local KHQ in Spokane. More about the Elantra. We saw reports that you mentioned that you recovered an Elantra, but can you specify where that was found? And we know that that was one of the biggest pieces of information you were asking from the public to tip. Were you able to provide an information on whether those tips led to this seizure of an Elantra?
That's still part of the investigation that will come out in the future.
Chief Glenn Mosley, Idaho Public Radio here in Moscow. The additional police presence in town and on campus, semester's coming. Is that going to continue?
You will continue to see state troopers in the area. You know, we're talking to Latah County as well. You will see a presence of us that we're always have up on campus. We have assigned officers to that. So you will continue to see a law enforcement presence. I'm going to take two more questions.
Hi, Chief. Julie Scott, ABC News. Can you tell us if you eventually had a license plate number to the Elantra and how you tracked it to Pullman?
That's still part of the investigation that will come out.
Chief, hi, Matt Lovelace with the Merle College of Communication. I want to ask about Mr. Kohberger as a graduate student at WSU. Are you aware of if he returned to campus after November 13th? And have you had any communication with departments on the WSU campus about his attendance?
So some of that is going to be followed up as we continue our investigation. We'll be asking some of those questions, but that'll come out in the near future. So what I do want to do is I want to thank you all. You really have been the national voice for us. You've given us the opportunity to get many, many tips. And I do appreciate everything you've done, and we'll continue to look forward to working with you in the future on this. So I'd like to thank you for that and thank you for your time.
Stop screen. There we go. Hi. Hello. Oh, all right. So recap time. If you have any thoughts, feel free to type them in the chat or leave a comment. And of course, if you like my style of covering true crime, I'd appreciate if you like this video and hit the subscribe button. All right. So, wow. I took a lot of notes. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of notes. Okay, so number one, the suspect is Bryan Christopher Kohberger, a 28-year-old graduate student at Washington State University. He resides in Pullman, Washington. However, he was arrested in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, and according to Chief Fry, he's from Pennsylvania. So speculating that there's family there, and he went home for the holiday, perhaps. One of the last questions there asked if he went back to school after the murders, you know, after the holiday, the Thanksgiving holiday and all that. So that would be very interesting to know. We're going to find out more information. So here's what's happening. The prosecutor, Bill Thompson, the Latah County prosecutor, said that the information right now, he is being charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 felony burglary with intention to commit the murders. So that's what he's being charged with. They, right now, there is a probable cause affidavit that has been sealed until Kohberger is served with an arrest warrant in Idaho, or is arrested in Idaho. But because he's in Pennsylvania, he can't, the probable cause can't be released to the public. Once it is released to the public, then of course we'll be able to find out what the probable cause was, what a lot of these questions that we have. Okay, so that's an important piece there. He also spoke about pre-trial publicity, which there's a lot of information that can't be shared yet. So that's some of the things that aren't going to be able to be shared, just to protect the integrity of the investigation and the legal proceedings. So he had an initial appearance in Pennsylvania, and he's being held without bond. And he's going to have another court appearance in Pennsylvania on Tuesday. He will also, once he makes it to Idaho, he will also be held without bond. And there are 2 pieces of two extradition things that can happen. One is that he can waive the extradition and go to Idaho on his own accord or on his own account, or the Moscow police are going to have to initiate an extradition process with the governor's office, and that could take a little bit more time. So he said that the primary source of information is going to be court records. And so once he is arrested in Idaho and information is released, that's going to be the primary source of information, is the court record. And that's to protect the integrity of the investigation and all of that. So both he, the chief, and others kept on saying, anyone, now that this person's name has been out there, now that we know who he is, he's a graduate student at Washington State University. He resides in Pullman, Washington, but he's also from Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. Bryan Christopher Kohberger, he's a 28-year-old. Now that we know his name and who he is, anyone who has any information about this person is asked to call in tips. They want to know everything. Do you know him? Have you seen him? Did you see him on the night of the murders? Did you see him any leading up to the murders? Have you seen him since? Anything that you have on information, they say that they know what they're looking for and they just want to know everything. So if you know this person, they are asking you to send in any information that you have about this person. Okay, so let's see. So there were a couple of questions. Idaho State Police Rep Kendrick Wells also spoke, and University of Idaho President Scott Green also spoke. And there wasn't any new information that I could gather from what they said. Okay, so there's a lot of information. They can't talk about what leads they got. They can't talk about one reporter asked, is the community safe now that this person has been arrested? Are there any other suspects? They said, look, continue to be vigilant. We've been telling you this all this time. Continue to be vigilant. So that's one of the things that they said. One person asked about all the speculation from the online sleuths, and they said the chief continues to say that all the information should go through the sources like the police department, because they're the ones that are vetting the information. They're putting out the official sources of information. That's my motto too. Of course, I do sometimes bring up speculation just because it's just natural questions that you have, but always with the official sources of information as the base, as the foundation of any form of speculation. So the other thing he said, one of the News Nation reporters says that the cleaning was being conducted today. So they were actually in the process of cleaning the house today, and that has been halted. So that's interesting. So at first we thought maybe that was a clue that they had a suspect, but since it's been halted because of a legal request, So a legal request halted the cleaning. It'd be interesting to see if they started the cleanup before they had the suspect or what happened there. So anyway, so the legal request halted the cleaning of the house. They said that they have spoken to the families, the victims' families. They want tips of everything. I'm just kind of reading the answers to the questions that they had. He says that they want tips on everything. So any tips that you have, anything that you know about this person, they want you to send it in. They are trying to do everything right so that when they go to trial, there are no issues with the trial, with how the investigation was done. So they're trying to do everything by the book. They're still looking for all pieces of evidence. They have no weapon, but they did find an Elantra. They didn't specify whether it is the Elantra, but they did find one. They did find an Elantra. And based on, they didn't specify this in the press release or the press conference today, but based on reports that we've seen from media reports, the two pieces of information that led to this person were the DNA showing that he was at the house and the ownership of the white car. So the because of now that there's a trial set for, or that this is going to trial, they can't speak to the specifics of it. And I guess we'll find out once he's in Idaho and he's been arrested officially in Idaho, we'll find out the probable cause will be unsealed and we'll be able to see more information on that. And I think that that's it. They said one person asked that what was the suspect's connection to Pennsylvania, and he said that he lives in Pennsylvania. So I'm assuming his family, he originates from Pennsylvania, and he's going to, and he's a grad student at Washington State University, which once again, if you were here earlier, I showed a map to it, and it is only about 17 minutes away. So Washington State University is less than 10 miles away from the house. So it's very close. And also that's why people were looking in that area as well, not just right there in Moscow, but it could be people were looking in the periphery because it could be anybody in the periphery. All right, so I think that's it. That's my one thing, an observation that I made is I feel like the chief was emotional. Like I feel like he was really, there was a sense of relief, also emotion for these students, and for me too. It's like I don't really know how to feel about it. Like we've kind of been waiting so long for this day to get this news that somebody has been arrested. It's like we don't know how to feel. I don't know how to feel about it. It's like I'm still processing. So I think I feel like he was very emotional and also relieved. And so it'd be interesting to see how the others are coping. And he did say that there was a lot of sleepless nights from the law enforcement, those who knew. So, trying to make sure that things go right. So the next steps are they have to extradite Bryan Kohberger from Pennsylvania to Idaho. And so he either waives extradition, meaning he agrees to go, or the Moscow police will have to, or whoever in Idaho will have to start the extradition process with the governor's office. So I guess the governor's office has to ask Pennsylvania to extradite this person, and that could take some time. So hopefully he just waives the extradition and he's able to go, and it'll be a lot faster. And also the next thing, also they said that there will be a hearing, a court appearance on Tuesday in Pennsylvania. So I guess that's the next step. And then the extradition process, he is held without bond. He will be held without bond in Pennsylvania, and he will be held without bond in Idaho. Woo! Wow, that was a mouthful. So before I end, got a lot of information there. Before we end, I just wanted to have a moment of silence for victims and their families, and just praying for justice. Like somebody said, I can't remember now if it was the prosecutor or the chief said that nothing can bring back the lives of these students, but maybe we can get some justice for their deaths. So just have a moment of silence for them, for their lives, for their families, for their loved ones. Remembering that we do this work for justice for the victims. And any more information that we get, I will bring it to you as soon as I hear anything more. I like to always come up with backup whatever I say with some official sources, either from media or from the law enforcement directly. So you heard it directly right there from the press conference from law enforcement. And so it would be very, very interesting to see what comes out over the next week. Sounds like because he's still in Pennsylvania, there'll be some time delay between what information they're going to be releasing and because the probable cause affidavit is still sealed. So love to hear your comments. What are your thoughts? What do you think? I am calling this a New Year miracle. I'm so grateful that there is a suspect that has been arrested. Let's hope that there continues to be justice for these victims. And once again, if you like my style of covering true crime, victim-centered, victim-focused, and sensitive, empathetic toward victims and their families, appreciate if you follow, subscribe to my channel, and hit the like button for coverage today. All right, everyone, appreciate you. Have a safe holiday, a safe new year. Stay safe, stay thriving. Have an empowering day and empowering weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button for notifications. Thank you.